Live from the Stream Center in Tampa, Florida, the home of News Channel 8, your official Bucs station. This is Bucs Bonus on WFLA Now, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY.
A star player makes a return to help the run game. How are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, by the way, bouncing back from this ugly loss to the Falcons? And who's the better team tomorrow night, the Bucs or the Bills? We have all of that and more right here, right now on Bucs Bonus, guys. I'm your host, Aileen Hnatiuk. I've got Dan Lucas, Karen Loftus, my teammates who are Bucs Insiders. What do we got here?
Wow, right out of the gates.
Yeah. That one's for this one's for
Oh, that's me. Here's my thoughts.
Oh, no, that one's so sad.
Yes.
Okay, here, we'll end on this one.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Beautiful. Guys, ugly, terrible, just ugly loss to the Falcons, 16-13. Let's talk about it. I'm still emotionally damaged from this. I don't know about you guys.
I can't believe it's what is it, Wednesday? We're 3 days after the game, and I cannot wrap my head around. You could go there and go, okay, this happened with hindsight, but to go out there after the previous game against the Lions and you knew exactly what was at stake and saying all the right things all week. I thought when we were just talking about predictions on television, and I thought this was going to be a big Bucs win. And obviously it was a loss. So, yeah, I'm blown away that it happened.
Yeah, Karen, have you wiped away your tears yet?
No tears. No tears. But, you know, it's like there were so many things that struck me about it just being so close. And I don't want to, reiterate too much or sound like what the players said, but I agree with them that there were so many, just like they were so close on so many opportunities. But you have one person making a mistake here, one person making a mistake there. And it's like everybody's making mistakes on different plays. And then the penalties, I think that was the thing that was sort of the icing on the cake, because it's like, okay, we knew coming into this game the Bucs offense was struggling to score points and they were struggling to get touchdowns in the red zone. And then on top of that, you threw on the penalties where it was 9 total, 7 offensive. And I don't know any team that would be able to overcome that type of just sort of shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
That's the recipe for failure in all levels of football. There isn't a coach in the world who ever plays football that would tell you could get away with it. Sometimes sometimes fluky things happen in games like that, and you overcome that. But to borrow a phrase from the great John Cooper of the Lightning, you're trying to outscore your problems at that point.
Yeah.
You're not really playing the opponent.
Yeah.
And think about it.
That's a disaster.
And then it came down to it with all of that. They were still in it till the very last second. It came down to like one big play to Kyle Pitts and a 51-yarder, which is not a gimme.
Right.
Yeah. And they still only lost by 3. So it's like if you had cleaned up maybe if you wiped out half of your penalties or none of 3 more catches.
None of them wanted to admit it, but they all thought that game was going into overtime. And Baker said in his press conference this week, he was like, when I sat down and I watched the film, what stuck out to me the most was the penalties.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, they stick out in the game, but like when I went back and watched it, wow, like that.
Yeah, like pre-snap penalties, like stuff they haven't been doing.
And honestly, like sometimes I think too, I understand this is a professional athletes, this is a professional team, but like, do you go back to the days of if you're doing those things in practice, you're running suicides, you're like doing up downs, like is that what you got to do? I mean, whatever you got to do, right? It sounds a little ridiculous, but if that's what it takes to, how so many penalties. It was time after time after time. I was like, okay, is this a ref thing or is this a Bucs thing? Like, what is going on here, guys? Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you this: when you get a penalty called on you in an NFL game, many times it is critical, especially when the result happens because of the penalty. And the worst one is usually the hold for offense or some type of personal foul on defense that gives the team the opponent a fresh set of downs. I could tell you this: gassers aside, you do not want to be the player that puts your team in that position. There is no worse feeling than being the guy. They announce it to the stadium, number so-and-so. It is
I've never thought about it like that.
It is just absolute. And people are savvy. They know that when you on 1st and 10, if you have a 12-yard gain and it's a fun play and then there's a holding penalty, it's now 1st and 20. not first and 10, 12 yards down the field. That's
66 yards.
That's a 32-yard difference from the success of the play. That's just an example, but it's just
the Falcons had 9 too.
To an individual, yeah. You do not want to be the guy who commits those penalties. That is pure discipline, as they say at this level. And I think sometimes coaches will say a penalty committed from playing football is acceptable. We can live with it. A penalty that's pre-snap, something that's just a lack of concentration or a lack of discipline is unacceptable. And that's what burned the Bucs.
Yeah.
And the thing that I keep wondering about that, because we've talked about, okay, well, what do they do to fix that? And we keep hearing like execution. And it's like, I don't know what they need to do except just that the phrase of just demonstrated ability. It's like so maybe this is a good thing that the Bucs are on a short week. It's like they can get rid of the memory of the last one and get back to the next game so they can prove that we're not that team that's going to have all those penalties.
Yeah. Well, Shaq Barrett said he's losing sleep over this loss. Like you could even hear it in his voice yesterday when we were talking to him. He was like he was trying to answer these questions, right? And he's just like, oh, man, like I almost just felt like I was like, dude, forget it. Cut the interview. Go out on the field right now. Like that's how it felt. Like how much he wanted to just get back out there, play the Bills. And he said he's using that loss as motivation. I'm sure they all are. You go 2 different ways, right? With the mindset. It's like flush it, okay, cool. Like don't ever want to look at that game again. Or you're like, oh no. We're going to go get it. We're going to use that as some fire.
I liked what he said.
I did too.
Where he was like, and it was your question too.
Yeah.
You were like, I know it's 24-hour rule. And he said like, yes and no, because he's like, I want to remember that feeling because I don't want to feel that Thursday night. So
and
great question.
Thank you. And I love when players admit that because there's so many times when players are like, no, next game, 1-0 each week. We're working on the next game. We're not.
They're humans.
But then I love the players like Shaq who are honest and they admit it. They're like, nah, dude, I'm angry. I'm losing sleep. We're going to go in and I'm thinking about that one play I missed. I'm leaving that play out there. I'm going to go make up for it in the Bills game. So I love it when guys are honest like that.
You need all 11 on each side of the football to have that. It's such a cohesive team sport that it doesn't have to be one person who's not, whatever you want to call it, motivated it's just one mistake by one person can be the difference.
Yeah.
It takes down the other 10. And like I said, with the penalties, you just don't want to be the guy who does that. Unfortunately, in this game, I don't think it was necessarily except for the fact that Desmond Ridder was able to elude, get to the outside a little bit. I don't know how much Shaq wears on this one. This kind of, ironically, with Antoine Winfield's amazing performance,
Shaq had slipped up on that. Yeah.
The defensive backs were kind of in the crosshairs, and at the worst possible moments. So that's what fans are going to remember from this game. And I know we'll go one defensive back in particular is hoping to have a bounce back game because he was in view on some big plays by the Falcons, and it's unfortunate for that game. But like you said, it's over. Short week. The Bills aren't feeling sorry for the Bucs. They get their own issues.
Yeah.
So two desperate teams.
Shaq actually said he was asked about Antoine's PBU in the end zone with Drake London, and Shaq was like, "Well, I was extra happy because I read something. I forget what he said, but he was like, I made a mistake during that play, so I'm glad I had him to step up." But you're right. The Bills they're coming off not a great game as well. So both of these teams are going to be fired up, ready to go. You know who else is fired up, guys? As always,
I can't wait to hear this.
Do tell.
You guessed it, Buckified Bert, and then of course we've got Casey Sloan and her stat chat of the week. So let's hear it.
Hello, Aileen and the crew, Bucs Bonus crew. Look, I so happy to have the opportunity to talk to you guys once again about the Bucs last week. Yep, we had a rough game. We should have won. But we'll play this team again December the 10th, and I promise you it's going to be totally different. Everything will be on the line. We sputter in a little bit, but this Thursday we'll be playing against the Buffalo Bills, and this game is going to be an upset just like we was last week. We was upset with losing to the Atlanta Falcons, those dirty birds, we're going to upset the world when we upset the Buffalo Bills. They don't even see it coming. I promise you, Thursday, we're going to upset the Buffalo Bills when we get this train back on the right track. And give them a stats of the week. Stats of the week, Casey Sloan. She's going to take care of the stats of the week. And this is Buckify Burt, and I am out.
Hey guys. So the Bucs lost Sunday. It was frustrating. It was ugly. The offense just wasn't getting the job done. But I'll tell you what, Antoine Winfield Jr. kept the Bucs' win hopes alive with his clutch play towards the end of the game. The safety had a huge forced fumble, punching the ball out of QB Desmond Ritter's hand at the 1-yard line, resulting in a touchback and preventing Atlanta from scoring. Sunday's forced fumble was his third of the season, which is a new career high, and is tied for most in the NFL this season. Since he entered the league in 2020, Winfield has recorded 8 career forced fumbles and is tied for second most among defensive backs over that span. So on top of that, he recorded 7 tackles against the Falcons and broke up a pass, making him Casey's Stat Chat Player of the Week. That's all I have for you guys. See you next week.
Oh my goodness.
I love the still at the end.
I know, she's like, see you next week. You better be there or be square.
She's the best.
Yes, Casey Sloan, the best. Actually, we've got her article right here too that she posted on our website at WFLA.com. Bucs face short turnaround after falling out of first place. Face Bills in prime time outing. Going back to what Buckified Burt says, that prime time game. I mean, he has got the Bucs.
I'll give Burt something here that I hope the Bucs can take away from it.
Okay.
He never changes his demeanor.
Yeah.
So I want the Bucs to keep their demeanor the same and just have that positive outlook and not let the game linger into a second loss or a third loss in a row for what it is. So I think the Bucs can learn something from our friend with the pirate ship hat.
Yeah.
And Casey's attention on Antoine Winfield is hits the nail on the head.
Yes.
At the time, when he stripped the ball from Desmond Ridder, that was a game-saving play. Because if Ritter's touchdown counts, the game's over, essentially. It's a 2-score game. So the problem I have is that's what it took to make that play. There was another defensive back right there who probably should have made the tackle at the 5-yard line. And that's just, when you watch it from the wide view and you see and you listen to people talk that really know football well, that's what they're digging on. This looks like there's a little confusion in the backfield. Looks like whether it's assignments or not reacting or just not being in your position correctly, that has got to be fixed from the defensive backfield, because it's coming Thursday night. One of the best offenses and receiver cores and Josh Allen, quarterback, they will feast on that for sure.
Yeah. Well, what we got going on this graphic, if you're watching us, is the recap. And one stat that stands out here is 13 carries for just 34 yards on the ground for Rachaad White. My goodness. That'll lead into our conversation of injuries here. We've got running back Chase Edmonds. He's activated from injured reserve, so that's going to be huge when it comes to the Bucs run game, getting some life. So fingers crossed with that. And I'd love to see Sean Tucker back in the mix, dude. Like, I just felt like he added some sparks, some spice to the offense. But Vita Vea, he's a game time decision, and Chris Godwin, Baker Mayfield, they're listed as questionable on the official the official why am I blanking? A list?
Injury report.
report. Kind of like what we do for a living.
Short week for all of us.
Yeah, short. Yeah, goodness. What day is it? What time is it? Anyways, yeah. So that's weird because Todd Bowles said, they're a go. They got the green light. Thoughts on that, guys?
Unless Vita Vea is really in bad shape, he's going to play. This is a guy who drags himself to the start line, and he's been doing it, I think, every game. He had the pectoral issue, then the foot, the mysterious foot, now the groin. And I think we all have the sample size now, knowing Vita Vea, that if he's not going to play, it's because he just can't play. So let's see how that goes. Game time decision. Chase Edmonds coming back into the running attack is very key, because I think they do need to rotate. But the one thing I wanted to say, because you showed the numbers on Rachaad White's rushing yards, he was pretty good in the pass game. And the particular plays that they call, they consider that an extension of the run game, they say. So I think when you say, because it was, I think he had 99 all-purpose yards, Rachaad White. So we criticized the run. However,
I think his total yards leads the team.
Yeah. However,
run game specifically.
Baker Mayfield said yesterday, you know what? Maybe we are a passing team.
Yeah, pass team first.
Finally, somebody came out and said that, and move forward with that and game plan around that and become a better passing team, because that will allow you to open up the run game. They'll stop stacking that box there to stop the run. And I think the passes to Rachaad White open that up a little bit. So I think it goes hand in hand. Extension of the run game helps your pass, which will help your run.
Yeah, well, Dave Canales said too, he's like, when you got guys on Chris and Mike, like that allows them to kind of excel in that area. But you mentioned moving forward. Let's move forward as well. Karen, what do we think with this Bills team? What is the key to success?
I think the key for the Bucs, I mean, we keep saying it, but they just need to score points.
Yeah.
And I think it's more
Simple
of
as
like,
that.
and I think it might have been Todd Bowles who said this week, but it's like, yes, we're going to go up against the Bills and they bring what they bring, but he's like, we need to figure out ourselves first.
Yes.
Which I think is a really good place to start. Like the Bucs need to figure out how to score points, how to score in the red zone, clean up their mistakes, and get like a complete game effort.
Yeah.
I think is like the biggest thing. Play up to the potential.
I think so too, because I forget this. I was thinking about this when he said that. When teams are struggling with themselves, it's like, okay, when you start to focus on who we're playing is doing, you tend to plummet almost, you know what I mean? Because you got to work on your own stuff. So I was like, it sounded basic when he said it. You're like, okay, coach, like, yeah, we get it. But it's so true.
Kind of makes sense.
It literally is so true, you know? Like they're going through their own issues. They got to make sure they're good before they can even make adjustments or, you know, focus on what the other team is doing.
Yeah. I did my math on Rachaad White, by the way.
Let's
he has
hear it.
429 scrimmage yards.
Ooh.
And Mike Evans has 468 receiving yards. So he doesn't have the most total yards, but pretty close.
Yeah.
You know, Evans and Godwin have the same number of targets.
Really?
They both have 49 targets.
Oh, twins.
Which, by the way, I was going to just, how do you beat the Bills? What's the biggest concern? Stephon Diggs has almost 80 targets.
Does
Almost
he?
80.
Ooh.
And that's, now, statistics this time of year are a little bit, there's always a discrepancy because this time of year teams just have different games played. The Bills have played
That
7
part,
games.
yes,
The Bucs
that's
have played
important
6.
to note.
But 78, 79 targets, whatever that is
78,
for
yeah.
Diggs.
55
that's
catches.
almost 2 games worth ahead of Mike Evans. So you're saying, all right, the Bills, no matter what the Bucs do in this game Thursday, they're going to Diggs. And they're going to go to him and go to him and go to him. I would love to see the Bucs go to Evans, go to Evans, go to Evans, and let's match them.
Let's
Let's
yeah,
match
I love
them.
that.
So
I think something too that is should be noted is Dawson Knox. He's going to be out. He's a big threat for them on offense. He's getting wrist surgery, so that takes him out of the mix there. But
I think he was the only. No, they've got a couple.
handful.
They've got 3. The Bills have 3 ruled out. They got to blow this up bigger.
Yeah. Let us
Can't see
know.
the
yeah, the
small
Buffalo
print.
Bills have been in a funk. They do have a win in the last 2 games. They beat the Giants. On the last play of the game, they made a defensive play. From the Giants' perspective, it was a holding in the end zone, but it wasn't called. But the Bills get the win at home. They eked one out, and then I think they were, the Patriots pulled it out late, but the Patriots are not good. And the Bills should not have.
Well, the
let them hang
Falcons
around
aren't
that
great
game,
either.
so.
I mean,
Oh yeah, well,
it's like
two teams that let
there's similar storylines going into this game.
2 teams that let another team hang around. And the problem from the Bucs' perspective in that Atlanta game is they weren't letting Atlanta hang around. Atlanta was letting them hang around.
Right. Who
So
wants the
that's
win?
on the
You guys,
offense.
no, you
Yeah,
guys
exactly.
take it. No, you guys take the win. No, you. Okay, well,
Right.
we'll leave this podcast with this. Antoine Winfield Jr. gave the team a speech after the game. Okay, right? He said, "How great do we want to be?" Okay, that's it. How great do we want to be? And we'll see you guys next week. How great do you want to be? We'll leave you on that note. Hopefully the Bucs can pull out a
best.
win
Wanna be the
on
best.
Thursday. And we're here every single Thursday, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple. Watch us on YouTube. I love watching these on YouTube because we have all these cool graphics that Casey Sloan helps make. So, yeah, we'll see you guys next week. We're here every Wednesday. Go Bucs!